Why are you looking at me?
No, it's just funny.
It is. It is. Well, we have everybody today, Melissa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody.
All 4 mics occupied.
Oh my goodness. I never thought it'd be today, but I'm excited that we're here. So, all right. Well, we are doing Common Sense Medicine, which is a podcast that we're doing for a long time. And we are entering into mental health because we realize that's a big problem, right? And so today we have special guests. Of course, Melissa.
Yes.
She's with me forever.
Always here.
The days she doesn't want to do it, too bad. I'm like, Melissa. Okay. And we have Cameron, who was here last time.
Welcome back.
Yes, happy to be here again, and that y'all weren't sick of me.
No, not at all.
Oh, girl, no. And then, not a fourth person or
Second guest.
Yeah. Hey, Carly.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Well, and the reason we have a big group today is we're talking about mental health, depression, anxiety, but focusing a lot on social media. And so, of course, me and Melissa, we grew up in a different time era without social media. We're still young. We're young.
Social media, was brand new back when we were in college.
Oh, yeah. I remember
back when you still had to have like a college email address to get on Facebook.
Correct.
Didn't
Yeah.
even know.
Yeah,
I don't remember this time. No.
It's a different world.
Yes, that's when TVs were still like big and not flat. So, but Cameron and Carly, you guys are in a different era. So growing up with social media. And so we're going to talk about, depression, anxiety in young adults, the data coming out, how social media might affect that, our own personal experiences with social media. And then we'll be wrapping up with what to do, especially for parents, what to do with their kids or young teens or young adults for themselves, what to do. But before we start, Cameron, I want you to talk a little bit about yourself because I know you actually did some schooling or research in mental health.
Yes, I do not quote me, not an expert, but happy to give like a little bit. Social media is, it can be great. It can be, filled with a lot of uplifting things and keeping up with friends, but it's also designed to be incredibly rewarding to your brain and to like access those dopaminergic pathways in your brain, your reward centers. Yes. So they know what they're doing and they're making it rewarding to stay on there and to keep scrolling and to keep looking. And like, that's, the point when it's getting unhealthy is when you're just caught in a loop.
Just the mindless scrolling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which really, okay, so if we look at the statistics, we know that especially during the pandemic, depression, anxiety went crazy. I mean, even in our own practice, we were seeing way more patients dealing with, depression. And at first we thought, okay, maybe it was the pandemic. Then we started realizing actually it was probably the pandemic rules, the isolation, right? The everything being virtual, the no one talking to anybody, the kind of fear that, hey, if you want to hug your grandma, you're going to kill grandma. That was probably the wrong message. But even before that, we started realizing that, hey, this was starting to get really bad, specifically in young adults and teenagers. And in 2017, they actually did a study looking at about 500,000 teenagers, and they found out that 10% had severe depression. Like not just depressed, but severe. 20% had depression. And that was like a 30% jump from previous times. In addition, suicide rates among girls jumped like 65%. So we started realizing, hey, this is a bad thing. Something is happening. And just so happened to be that cell phone use increased during that time and social media increased in that time. All right. And I think it's like you said, Cameron, there's this tool that they made, which was meant to maybe connect people, allow people to talk, but the adverse reactions became a big, big problem. And we're not going to solve it today, but we can talk about it. So, Carly, we'll start with you because we'll start with the young people who grew up with social media. How has it been for you?
I feel like it's evolved and like grown so much since like it was first introduced to us. Like I guess I started on Facebook and then like at some point during high school, Instagram was introduced and then like Snapchat and it's really just like grown and it's not now like what it used to be. I feel like it used to just be kind of like, I don't know, just to like literally post anything and everything, like to just like show people what you were doing. But now I feel like it's so like calculated and it's so like, like you said, kind of geared towards like the mindless scrolling and, even like addict behavior, you know, around like social media. And then it's also like leads to that, like, where like, yes, it's connection, but then it's also like so much comparison. And like, it just didn't used to be like that. Like I go back and look through my old like Facebook posts or, you know, like Instagram photos, and it's just like us having fun. It's not super, like
Carly is at Target right now.
Right. Yeah. Like, no like filters, or I mean filters, but terrible filters. But yeah, you're just like out like goofing off. Like it wasn't like perfectly like curated, flawless, and you know, like again, where it just like leads to that, I guess, like comparison and like unrealistic comparisons, like truly. So I don't know, it's come a long way, and like I said, I feel like it's not what it used to be. Even for us, like we definitely like grew up in it, but it's like changed and evolved so much since like we would have even like started.
Exactly. And like the whole curated aspect. Like people aren't just like posting, you know, like simple pictures. It's edited pictures, the best times they're having, the like nicest
highlights.
Things they have, the highlights.
Highlight reel.
Exactly. And that's great. But it also is like not, you know, what their everyday life is like. And that's hard because that's all you're seeing of that person sometimes.
Yeah, and you just get caught up in like, oh, I'm not doing that, or oh, like they're having fun, or oh, they went on this trip, or and I'm not doing that. And it's like, again, it's a highlight reel that was probably months ago when they were, you know, on a trip of a lifetime, you know, and but that's all you see. You just see like what they want you to see, basically.
Yeah. And now influencers. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
it's a whole new world.
The perfect life.
The most unrelatable lives a lot of the time. And so like we're so fascinated by it, and then I like stop and think, and I'm like, this is so unrelatable to me, you know, like I have an 8 to 5, and these people, and you know, like it's opened up a lot of windows, I guess, but still it's not the most relatable content.
No, or attainable.
Right.
But that can also lead to like some dissatisfaction in your own life, right? If you're just seeing all these influencers who, kind of make their own schedule. Every picture is beautiful and, you know, perfectly polished, and all their kids have matching clothes, and they are traveling the world, and, you know, all this stuff. Oh, yeah. And everybody else is just trying to survive. It does, like, you know, really unglamorize reality, or what, you know, what we feel like we can't achieve that, or must be nice to be them, or all that. But I agree, you know, and back to like the geriatric, social media users here. But I do remember even back when we first, you know, had social media with Facebook and this is back when you had to get on like your desktop to get like we didn't have like cell phones to like
not smartphones.
Yeah, we didn't have smartphones. So this is back when we were like logging on to MySpace. But no, when Facebook was first around, even I think when Instagram was first around, I can see like in my memories from like, you know, 12, 14 years ago. Yeah, those pictures, like we posted anything and everything. And it was truly just a way to like, this is like an album from a weekend on, you know, in March or something, you know, just like this random stuff, pictures of anything. We didn't like pick and choose what people saw. We were truly just putting it out there to share with friends and family. Now it's like, you have to like pick and choose what you put out there, because there is a comparison aspect that I don't think was there before.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think, you know, looking back, so the other day I saw it was like a camcorder video of, I guess, our age group, so class of 2003, so I guess a year behind me. And then, you know, they had the camcorder, the high schoolers were there, the lockers were there. Everybody was like really silly on the video, but they were also shy. Not a smartphone in sight. Everybody's eating lunch together in the lunchroom. And, you know, it was abnormal to have your life monitored like that. And now you're exactly right. I mean, you have 18-year-olds doing dances and choreography. I mean, when we did videos, holy cow, we were special. Not in a good way. But now, I mean, everything's choreographed. They sync it. They have the beats drop. They have the visual effects. And it's kind of like I said, this is not real life. But unfortunately, especially for the younger generation, they feel like that's real life, and my life is not real life anymore.
Yeah. And that's what I need to be doing to have fun.
Right.
And that's just not true.
Yeah, and it can't be real life unless you document it and post it.
Yes.
You know, that's one thing that I see a lot when groups of people gather now. It's everybody kind of like getting together, do a few selfies. You got to get the background, and then you got to sit down and post it right away. And then everybody's looking at their phones rather than just like experiencing this gathering in the moment.
Right.
Yeah, we're definitely missing out on like fully participating in our lives,
Yes.
which is not great. Yeah,
No.
you miss moments. You miss important moments.
Yeah, and it's all about like getting the content, and that's like more important than the actual like fellowship or like hanging out with people for sure.
Yeah, I was looking at essentially some of these researchers mentioning why social media has become such an issue. And it's exactly like everything you guys have said, FOMO, right? So feeling like, hey, they're at a party. Why am I not at the party? Especially with teenagers, they'll take photos of, wow, we all went to the beach. And the person who didn't get invited kind of has that like, well, I didn't get to go. Another one was really interesting, self-esteem and then body dysmorphia, right? So everybody's looking at, we always laugh at Kim Kardashian because she just looks so crazy. But how much her looks have influenced the generation. Like, okay, Melissa, when we were growing up, the big butt thing wasn't really a thing.
No. And really, I mean, we looked at, maybe a select few movie stars, maybe occasionally like people in a magazine.
Correct.
But there weren't just like this bombardment of just average people that are now like Insta famous and have, used filters and, maybe all kinds of other methods to kind of get a certain look.
Perfect lighting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Lighting makes a huge
So much
difference.
of a
And it's
difference.
so deceptive. Like you can take a picture in one lighting and literally step 1 foot to the side, take the same picture, and it looks completely different. And of course, you're going to post the one that has the best lighting.
Yeah, one of them be like 100 that you took, like it's like, okay, and, the 99 others, you're, trash, like, I wouldn't post those. But but we only see the one perfect, flawless, filtered.
Yeah, it takes a lot of effort to do that, to like post those perfect pictures. You're not seeing the work they're putting into it. And not, saying it's, hard work, but yeah.
But still, and I feel like there's like more transparency with that, like coming from like certain people, like just to like put it out there that like, this is what you're seeing, but this was like the, the before the filter, or this was the photo I took like 2 minutes before that,
Instagram
like
versus reality.
Yeah, exactly. And like people are becoming a little like more and more transparent with that, but it's still like such, I think just like a problem again, because it's like the comparisons, and I don't look that way, and how do they look that way, and it's hard.
Yeah, I heard one person recently say that she was getting to the point where when she saw herself in the mirror, she like didn't like what she saw because she was so used to seeing herself with a filter. Like all the stories that she did or all the posts or different things like that always had a filter. And so it's like anytime she saw her real life face, it was like, it felt like that was not a reality, whereas that is the reality, and even to the point of, this particular influencer had taken some time off due to a major life event. And like a month later was like, I've got to get myself together and get back to reality, meaning get back on social media. But then she stopped and was like, no, what I've been living for the past month is reality. Social media is not the reality.
Yeah, it's crazy, like the stock that you like put in that, and then like how it really like morphs. Yeah, like your kind of sense of like what is real and what isn't. It's like no, like living my life and like taking a break and a step back is reality. Like that's like supposed to be for like fun, and like it's not reality. It's not real.
Yeah. And both of you have taken time off. You, Carly, recently had some time off of social media.
A little social media fast.
How was it?
It was good. It was like very weird at first, I guess, like the day that I like went through and like deleted, the apps off of my phones. That was like a weird feeling, just kind of, and it's crazy how like you wouldn't think that like, oh, I'm not that like attached to it, but like actually like removing it from your phone, like the act of doing it was like very weird. And like, the first like, I would say like week or so, it was like, it's just such a reflex, like to just pick up your phone and, when there's one down minute, it's like, oh, I need to pick up my phone and like occupy this like one moment. And so like, about the first week and a half, I feel like I was very like, that was my like reflex is what I wanted to do. And it felt weird not being able to do that. But as time went on, like you occupy your time with other things, like talking to people, reading. I did a lot of that. But yeah, all in all, it was a great experience. I would like recommend, to anyone who's like thought about doing it. I will say like the one thing, it was hard because that aspect of connection, like one of the positives, is taken away, and, you kind of feel like in the dark about, like what's going on with like people that you don't keep up with day in and day out. But at the same time, there's a lot less responsibility. Like, I don't know, like, I'm not expected to know that because I'm not, on social media right now. And then, yeah, like getting back on it was like a bit overwhelming. Like, it was weird. I talked to, another girl in the office about it who had also taken like a fast, and I was like, how is it being back on? I was like, are you like a little overwhelmed? And she was like, yes, because you get back on and like, the 6-7 weeks that you were off, everyone else has been on here, like posting, sending you things. And yeah, you get on and like people have had babies and gotten engaged, like all this stuff you feel like you've missed out on. You're trying to like catch up and keep up. And so it was like kind of overwhelming. And then you kind of fall like not right back into it, but it's like you spend a lot of time trying to like catch up and, like see what everyone's been up to, congratulate them on this. And then you kind of just like, you feel like you kind of fall right back into it. So it's been nice. I feel like it's not as much of a reflex, like kind of taking that time off. Like my brain, I guess, kind of like rewired in a way. And like it's not the first thing I want to do. But yeah, it was good. I think, yeah, and just like a lot of like this underlying like stress and anxiety and like the comparison that we've talked about is not there, because it's like, the things like just the granular things that like people feel the need to like update you on, and yeah, you're like, oh, well, they went to dinner here and it looked so good, and they went out, here this weekend, and they, she bought that, and you're just like this constant comparison. And so like it was like very nice to like not have to, yeah, like try to keep up with all of that for that time period. So I don't know, I'm rambling, but all in all, it was it was a great experience.
Did you find any different in your experiences? And I don't know if you're one that like posts a lot on social media typically, but did you notice that you like live in the moment anymore rather than thinking, oh, I've got to just document this, for social media?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm definitely one to like to post, put up an Instagram story or, like a Facebook post. And yeah, you do like kind of catch yourself like, when you're out doing something where you would have normally like documented it. It's like, no, actually, like I don't have to do that. And yeah, you may still like document it for just like documentation's sake, but it's not like the perfectly like curated and framed and lit picture. It's just like, oh, I'm just going to document this because we had a fun day. We did this and it was nice. But yeah, I mean, I do feel like it was, and again, like kind of nice because you get to just like enjoy it. You don't actually have to like take the time. And then it's like, taking the perfect picture, then it's like posting it or editing it and like all the things that go into it, like you said, just the work that goes into it. And it's like, oh, I don't have to do that. I just get to like enjoy this, and it's
take
fine.
a picture and you can look at it 5 years from now and enjoy the moment.
And just like reminisce, like, oh, that was a great time. But yeah, like
different intention behind it.
For sure. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I think Cameron, you actually took years off your social media.
I did.
Because you actually really struggled with it in the beginning.
Yes. Yeah. So I've struggled with anxiety, and especially like when I was in college, I think that's when I went off of it. It was probably like freshman or sophomore year, because like that's a vulnerable time. I think, it's a time of transition, and I was already struggling with anxiety, and like going on social media I wasn't going about it in a healthy way. I was going to just like consume as much as possible and to be like, okay, well, if she has this, I need to get that. If they have this, if they're doing this, I have to do this. So yeah, it was just really bad for my self-esteem, my, self-esteem really. And once I made the decision to delete it, and I'm not saying that you have to, it's not like that for everyone, but at that time it was the right decision. So I completely deleted Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and I had like Twitter, barely used it, but I got rid of everything. And it didn't fix everything immediately, but it definitely, I wasn't being constantly, inundated with images that I was looking at with the wrong intent, to compare. So yeah, I did that for basically until 2021. So maybe even, like 4 or 5 years. and I lived without it, and I felt fine, and I, was more intentional in keeping up with people and other relationships. I think there was a point where I was like, my mental health is taking a turn for the better. I'm feeling better about myself, and now I really do want to go and, see what people are doing for the right reasons. So, and I still, I'm not perfect on social media, but yeah, back in 2021, I think it was, like during the pandemic, I was like, this is a great tool to connect with people while we can't connect with people in traditional ways. Yeah, that's when I went back on, and, definitely it was a good time to go back on. Still have my struggles with it sometimes. Like, you realize you're like reaching for it a little too often, or staying on it a little too long.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely, I think the time off really made me appreciate it for the good aspects of it.
Yeah, and the point you made about like connecting with people, like that reminds me too. Yeah, part of like my time off was, that I realized a lot of it is like even like your close friends, a lot of your connection is like through social media. Like I only know what one of my closest friends is doing today because I saw it on, like Instagram or Snapchat or whatever it is. And it's like without that, you have to actually like text them and be like, hey, like, what are you up to this weekend? And I feel like social media, like a lot of times, whether it's like close friends or just, like fringe friends or like social media friends, it gives you this like kind of false sense of connection sometimes too. And people feel like closer to people and more connected with people than they actually are, which I think can also be like, dangerous because then in reality, like you said, in the real world, it's like you're not actually like making those connections. It's like kind of like a false, like, oh, I knew what they were doing because I saw it on social media, but like I don't really know this person.
Talked to them
I
in
haven't
10
talked to
years.
this person. I don't know what's
Yeah.
going on in their life outside of the fact that they got brunch today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, that like reminded me of that for sure.
Yeah, and I think, my experience with social media during the pandemic was different. I think the pandemic brought out, in some ways, the best in some people, and in some ways, the worst in some people. There was a lot of course, misinformation and things like that on social media, but there was a lot of arguing back and forth. Like, like people that you thought were just like great people are now like trolling other people and like really just saying hateful things that they would never say in front of somebody's face. But they were just blowing it up behind the keyboard, which to me was like, I've got to get off of this. So every time I did feel that need to like pick up my phone and like do something with it, I would just open up my Kindle and start reading. And so I kind of had to like redirect from social media for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, as we're talking about this, everything that you guys are experiencing is common. I think that's the point. Like when parents are listening to this or people who are listening to this and they're thinking about their own children, I mean, this is something that is pretty pervasive, everywhere. And we've talked about like social media almost being like an addiction, like alcohol. And so when I was, doing some research for this, I found what we call our CAGE questionnaire, which is the questionnaire you use to see if someone's addicted to alcohol. And if you substitute social media in there, like, do you ever feel like you need to cut back? Dang, I'm on this a long time. You get that feeling that you want to cut back. The second one is, do you get annoyed when people tell you to stop, and of course with alcohol, the alcoholics get real mad if you tell them to stop. But even with your teenagers, you're like, hey, you've been on the phone for a long time. They get that eye roll to, the one that would get you slapped when I was growing up by my parents, not anymore. But, there is that annoyance. The third one was guilt. And I think a lot of people are starting to say that they feel guilty that they're on here. Even me and Melissa will go to the park, take our kids there, and you'll see parents on the phone not talking to their kids. And at the same time, they have that guilt, like, why am I on this when my kids like, come play with me, mommy or daddy? And of course, the last one, eye-opening, was that people have a sense, kind of like you guys, like, I need to get off for a second. I need to stop because this is not only just, I'm taking my time, but it's starting to interfere with work. Or interfere with family. Like we'll have parents that won't, or vice versa. Kids won't talk to their cousins when they finally visit from another state. Everybody's got their phone on. And like you said, Carly, what's happening now is people have a relationship, but it's not deep.
These pseudo relationships.
It's pseudo relationship, yeah. And they mentioned that a lot on these studies. Like people are not getting connected. They're not getting deep connection. They know each other according to their social media persona, which is like $1 million influencer in a Lamborghini, but they live in a house with no furniture because they can't afford it. You know, like we don't know those sides that before when me and Melissa were growing up, I mean, you go hang out at a Walmart parking lot, right, with your friends. But you do talk about things, you know, and you know that, hey, if you had a flat tire, you can call up your friend and he'll come out and help you. But with your social, you think about like, who would I call on Instagram to come help me out? If
Put it on your story, see who responds.
yeah.
And and I think just the way we connect is a lot different now. We would rather, you know, order like a grocery delivery than walk over to our neighbor and ask for a cup of sugar. You know, it's like, it's just totally different than how people used to interact. We've really engineered things in a way where we don't have to contact other people. We really don't have to have those interactions at all. You can order up anything you need behind a screen. So it has kind of, you know, it's brought us away from like that traditional community piece. And so you now have to kind of make an effort if you do want those genuine, like face-to-face connections.
For sure.
Definitely.
So now that we've brought it out in the light, solution, you know, because people want to know what to do, you know, and I looked at a couple of things and I'll just toss it out there for you guys. The first one I think is on here, it said mindfulness, right? So mindfulness starts with being honest with how much you're actually consuming. I think me and Melissa have talked about there are apps on phones to tell you, or I guess even iPhone or in Google themselves, they make apps for mental well-being to try to help tell you how often you're using your phone. So a lot of people might say like,
Apple with screen time.
Yeah,
Really calling
screen
me out
time.
every Sunday morning. Your screen time's up this week.
yeah, and taking advantage of those is probably helpful. I don't know if you guys use those things.
Definitely. Yeah.
Right.
It's, you know, the first step is acknowledging you have a problem.
Right.
AA meeting, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you look at that and you see you could spend 7-8 hours.
Oh my gosh. It's
on
like,
your
it hurts my
phone.
feelings. Yeah. You like get that notification and you look down and it's like, it's up by 17% this week. And then it has to break it down into like how many hours and minutes you spent on it. And it's like, really? Like, did I really? You know, cause it's crazy that you spent that amount of time on there.
Because it's mindless.
And it's like nothing to you. You're like, no, there's no way. But it's like, yeah,
You
like
really
you really
are.
did.
So yeah, just being aware of that. I definitely like screen time because it is a brutal awakening, but it makes you aware. And then if you're aware, you can start to implement mindfulness practices. Just like Melissa said, what else is there on your phone that's a little bit more like edifying, like that's a little better for you to replace those things? Screen time isn't necessarily evil, but
Oh no,
there's better and worse things for you.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that was what it was bringing out. It's like you can find other things to substitute. So I know Melissa reads Kindle. I Audible like a madman.
Yes, Audible, Team Audible.
Yeah.
Sponsor us.
Audible sponsor. Yeah. Because those are, you can't just take something away and not put something else in its place, right? So I like we said, like, either focus more on connections outside, you know, focus more time on your family, you know, exercise. We have plenty of people that tell us all the time, we have no time to exercise. And then you pull that screen time on, it's 4 hours on Twitter. You had plenty of time to exercise. Another one, they say is no phones before bed. Or
That's a good one.
Yeah, kind of like a shutdown time. Yeah, like a powering down, like, 2 hours before bed. Yeah, I'm not going to look at my phone. Because, I mean, it's crazy how, like, when you do, and that was one thing, like, I didn't do that much of on the social media fast, is because there's really nothing to look at, like, unless you're reading on your phone. But yeah, it's just, like, it's hard to wind down, I feel like, after scrolling, and seeing what everyone's up to, and, like seeing some crazy post on Facebook that, you're all, and so then you're expected to just like wind down and close your eyes and go to sleep.
Everybody's like arguing. And
yeah, everyone's like fired
you
up.
gotta like get in the comments and see what's going on. Where's this gonna go?
And you have all this information. And you're like, what do I do with it? I guess I got to think about it for the next 2 hours. While I try to fall asleep.
It's like intended to activate your brain. Like it's,
exactly.
Yeah. So you do the opposite.
Oh yeah. They always find the most controversial posts.
Well, and I think, and that, like things being curated, even the algorithms now, they'll put things that are more controversial and because that's what holds people's attention more than even just like the cute puppies and yummy recipes. You know, it's like it puts out like all the controversial stuff so that people will stay there and dig in the comments
and go back. Yeah. See what have they posted since? What are the updated comments like? Keeps people coming back.
Yeah, I think along the same lines, one was like, hey, having time that you can be on the phone and time you need to be off the phone. And actually, that was probably one of the best things I ever did was I actually downloaded an app called BlockSite, which blocks any site that I want. And so I put all my social media on there and I just block it off my phone and change the password with my eyes closed so I don't know what my password is. But you're adding steps in between to hold you accountable for not getting on. And once you don't have anything on your phone, actually you're like, I often lose my phone now because I don't need it all the time. And so using things like that to help set times, even maybe just getting a real alarm clock. So you're not having to use your phone as an alarm clock, which makes you want to just turn and look at your notifications.
For sure. Yeah, turn off notifications for social media. You don't need every little ping.
No, definitely.
Yeah. And I think the last one it brought up here, and it was for me and Melissa as parents, parents need to set the tone for the kids. So if we don't want our kids or teens on YouTube or whatever all the time, we don't need to be on it all the time, because obviously if we're not on it, then we take the kids out and we take them out. They actually get, and I don't know if this is your experience, our kids get really creative when they don't have a screen.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. When I take the iPads away from the kids, they're, playing with all kinds of, cardboard boxes, like creating things. They're going outside and building habitats for the worms that usually eventually die. And, they're just using their imaginations. And if they're behind a screen, they're not going to get those experiences.
Yeah, right. And it's like you said, why do we have to be on these comment sections? Like Jennifer Garner will never see your tweet. Or this person, like you arguing for the sake of this celebrity who, I mean, it's not that important. And I think once we start figuring this out, it actually helps you naturally disconnect and then reconnect with people really for the sake of your own mental health. We need that.
Yes.
Yeah. So any closing thoughts? Because I think we have a meeting.
Yeah, we do. Closing thoughts. Yeah,
just try to be mindful of your time. It is hard, but even if you can just like catch yourself mid, spiraling through, scrolling through, just be like, oh wait, I don't need to be doing this. I don't want to be doing this. And just take a step back, put your phone down and go do something, fill up your time in another way.
That and just like perspective, like just, knowing that like this is curated, it's not real life. That's not, what they're doing all the time. That's not what like every day looks like for everyone. I just feel like at least like having that perspective in your mind and knowing that like you're not measuring up. This person is just like feeding you, the highlights of their life. And it's not always meant to make you feel bad, but, just having that perspective that like, this isn't real life, I think that's important too.
Definitely. Especially for young girls. Like, you don't have, if you're 13 years old, look 13 years old. You don't have to look 20.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Melissa, what about us young adults?
The geriatric population. No, I think what you said about, we have to lead by example, for our kids, the next generation coming up. If we don't change they're not going to be, set up for any more success than we were. It's kind of one of those things. If we don't start fixing things now, we'll see those rates of anxiety and depression, especially in teens and young adults, continue to decline, or increase. Those rates increase and mental health decline. If we don't start to make those changes for ourselves and then for our kids.
Perfect. All right. Well, I thank you for the guests. And of course, Melissa always, because she's always here. But Cameron, Carly, thank you for your time.
Yes, thanks for having us.
We'll do it
Always
again.
fun time.
Yeah.